Yes, if you've been trying to check out my video on Tiffany Henyard and Keith Freeman trying to take Dr. Scott's property, you won't be able to see it because it was taken down today by YouTube. And we're going to spend a few minutes talking about why. So according to YouTube, I received this message maybe like 2 hours ago, and I was very surprised because this is the first time this ever happened to me. But YouTube claims that I was engaging in cyberbullying and harassment. Yes, cyberbullying and harassment. This is the first time I ever seen this message. I'm on my YouTube channel. I've been on YouTube for about 4 years. And the only thing that I've seen over the last couple of weeks, especially covering Mayor Henyard, was a lot of privacy policy, I guess, complaints. There was one point where I had like 7 in a row throughout all the videos, but I keep them up because I don't think I'm invading anyone's privacy. Everything that I tried to report is based on public information, and I am talking about public figures. Obviously, Henyard is the mayor of Dalton, the supervisor of the township, Keith Freeman. I try to make sure that I'm talking about public figures as much as possible. So it is interesting that this video that we're talking about here was taken down for bullying and harassment. I've already appealed, but let's talk about the video itself. So the video is about Tiffany Henyard and Keith Freeman, the village administrator, just giving Dr. Scott a really difficult time to try to secure this property. Dr. Scott brought this strip mall. She is trying to expand her mission, her purpose, to help feed people in Dalton. And for some reason, she can't get the necessary permits to fix the property. When she just tries to fix it on her own, the people who are fixing it get $500 tickets because they are working without a permit. When she tries to apply for a permit, she gets a lot of pushback. So Dr. Scott has been on a few YouTube channels. She talked about this. So my video was just explaining some of the details about all of the obstacles that Dr. Scott is going through. I went to check out exactly what part of the video YouTube is suggesting that I am cyberbullying and harassing, was reading the letter that Dr. Scott received. And it's actually very interesting because on the Dalton trustees page, Dr. Scott talks about this in detail. Days after I even post that video, I'm gonna let her talk about the letter that I put physically on the screen.
It's the letterhead says Brevard Facility Maintenance LLC, but the letter is addressed to her, but the letter says, "Dear Mr. Freeman." And so this is the letter that I received initially to tell me the list of items that I needed to have done in order for them to even think about giving me permits. And this letter is for someone who is building a structure. And then they came back and gave me the same letter, but they put it on village letterhead on February the 2nd. The same letter. But then finally telling me that my application for the permits were denied because I didn't give them these items.
So is it possible that Henyard and her administration may have hit that video because it was pretty silly how bad that looked? Also considering that on that video itself that I have, I posted a screen cap from her podcast showing the bad letter, the letter that didn't make any sense, that was addressed to Mr. Freeman instead of Dr. Scott. But I don't know, to be honest, if Henyard and her administration actually did that, because I have tons of videos criticizing May Henyard in her group. So it's interesting why now with this particular situation, it could be just YouTube algorithm just doing what it does. Now, YouTube has a strict policy against cyberbullying and harassment. They're trying to ensure that the platform remains safe and respectful place for all users. Well, still a lot of work with that, but here are some of the main points of YouTube's policy on cyberbullying and harassment. So they explain any content that bullies and harass. So YouTube does not allow content that targets individuals for prolonged insults or malicious insults based on intrinsic values, including their protected group status or physical traits, threats and personal attacks, content that threatens someone with serious physical harm, death, or contains calls for targeted harassment is prohibited. We're going to be talking about that a little later on. Incitement to harass. YouTube prohibits content that encourages abusive behavior, doxing, or other harmful actions against individuals. We'll talk about that later as well. Content creating harmful or abusive language. Content containing demeaning, harmful, or abusive language towards an individual or group based on attributes like race, gender, sexual orientation, or religion is not allowed. Sexual harassment. Content that depicts or alludes to non-consensual sexual acts or behaviors, unwanted sexualization, or objectification of individuals is banned. Revealing personal information. Start sharing personal information like address, phone numbers, or other private details without consent is strictly forbidden. Encouraging self-harm and violence. Any content encourage others to harm themselves or commit acts of violence is not allowed. And users can report content that violates these policies, and YouTube will review them. And when they say YouTube is reviewing them, it's not a person, it's algorithm. I think a lot of it is based on algorithm. It's not a physical person watches unless it goes to review. And even then, I think it's still based on algorithm. But YouTube will review and take appropriate action, which includes removing the content, issuing strikes against the channel, or terminating that account. So what I did wrong, maybe I shouldn't have put the physical letter up on the screen. I've already tried to appeal. If it doesn't work, I'll just have to redo the video, and I may just put what Dr. Scott says herself, but it just won't have the physical letter. But I did that video a couple days ago. Dr. Scott talked about it on Adult and Trustees page. It's just more of a pattern of behavior of the Henyard administration, not doing a whole lot of figuring out the details. If you're going to do something shady, make sure the letter actually has the name, the correct name that you're going to address it to, and not embarrass yourself further. And then on top of that, On the Move podcast literally put the wrong letter on your screen. But I also want to talk about something in terms of real cyberbullying and harassment. And I've seen this last couple of days, especially on a couple of YouTube channels. YouTube is going to take it seriously. And also the law enforcement is going to take it seriously. I think, especially when it comes to Tiffany and Henyard, a lot of the content has, and a lot of the people involved in the content has got to a point where it has got out of hand, and it needs to be toned down because a lot of it is unacceptable what is actually happening. At the same time, if you feel that you are being harassed or cyberbullied, contact the authorities. If you think that someone is doing something that is attacking you, go to court. But this idea of doxing, inciting, all these type of things is a problem because it's illegal. And on the second point, it doesn't work. Trying to suppress speech just makes things worse. If there's something being said that's defamatory, slander, then go through the legal options, go to court, file your lawsuits, do what you gotta do, contact the authorities. But if it's just a opinion being said, it doesn't make sense to try to suppress an opinion. Because if you do that, it just brings more attention to what is it that you're trying to hide. Why are people trying to harass and intimidate others not to speak? That means that most likely people are going to try to figure out why is this person being silenced. So that's just what I want to say real quick. I'll give you guys an update what happens with my appeal. If it doesn't work, no big deal. I'll just have to re-edit the video and I'll put it out at a later date. If you're interested in donating to Dr. Scott, I'll put the link in the description box in this video. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.